my worry is, given that the Iranian government is absolutely going to cling on for all that.
The United States and Israel has launched a dramatic airstrike campaign targeting Iran, and Iran has responded with fire across the wider Middle East, including attacks on Israel. We've also seen Iran launch assaults on Qatar, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, and even the United Arab Emirates, where I am now. Over the last several hours, there have been explosions and plumes of smoke in the sky as the Emirati forces are targeting incoming missiles from Iran. Already, we've seen one person killed in Abu Dhabi, the capital of the United Arab Emirates, from shrapnel coming down from one of those interceptions. Now, already the Gulf Arab leaders are talking among themselves, and they're saying that they are willing to strike back against Iran, but it remains unclear whether they'll take that military step, particularly as the American and Israeli campaign appears to be continuing at a high tempo with airstrikes across the entirety of Iran, including those targeting its military and its leaders. What isn't known is how long this is going to last, but what is known is the fact that this conflict, which had been limited to the US, Iran, and Israel, has now widened to include broad swaths.
My worry is, given that the Iranian government is absolutely going to cling on for all that it's got. And we can see that today already, where they are really retaliating against US bases in the region and also attacking Israel, is that they're not going to give up easily. And so my worry is that we are at a much greater potential point for this to escalate into a wider regional war, because the countries where the US has military bases are also under attack now, and this is a really risky moment. And at the end of it, it's not clear that the Iranian people are going to have a better government. They are very likely to experience a lot of devastation and destruction, but it's not clear that this is actually going to be the step that leads to regime change in Iran. We've had two US air campaigns, one last summer saying that they want to end the Iranian nuclear program, which they haven't quite done, and now an air campaign that says that they want to effect regime change in Iran, where it's also uncertain whether they're going to manage that. But the result essentially is that it's beginning to look actually very dangerous to negotiate with the United States, because it seems that if the negotiation isn't going in the direction that the US wants, they might just bomb you. And I'm not sure that that's really a message that we want states around the world to internalize. If there is a continued air campaign in Iran, that also makes it harder for protests to actually take place, because if you are under bombardment, even if the strikes are trying to target certain military targets precisely, we have seen that there were explosions in Tehran, in part because the US government was trying to go for Iranian government buildings and so on. So there is always the risk of a lot of collateral damage and civilian danger. And so I think, we would probably need to see um, a stop or a break in the bombardment for protesters to actually come out in large numbers. The US and Israel have the same challenge that many would have in a war with an adversary that's very well equipped. The sides will have been hardened. The sides will have been hardened because they were expecting further Israeli and US attacks. And of course, some missile launchers are mobile, and so Iran is able to move them around, which means that you can't necessarily strike them exactly. And so this combination essentially of Iran in essence being ready for war because it is something that has been such a feature over the last few years, just means that you can't necessarily say, okay, if we target, the following targets, Iran is definitely going to be militarily defeated. And as we've seen from Iran's retaliation this morning, they clearly still have a lot of missiles and a lot of firepower left. Even if they could technically do this on their own, they probably like that they are doing it together with an ally, and that they can say to their European allies and to their Pacific allies, look, Israel is acting exactly how we want our allies to act. They're standing shoulder to shoulder with us. They are supporting us militarily. They are providing intelligence here, and we're acting together. And so I think in that sense, the relationship between the US and Israel might begin to serve as a blueprint for how the US would like other allies to act. The US, unfortunately, continues to act outside of international law, and that really seems to have become a core tenet of US foreign and security policy. I mean, we're now at the end of February, so that means in 2026, the US has undertaken an illegal attack on another country every month of the year. If they keep that up, then that's going to be quite a devastating year. So to me, that really is the most concerning thing.